Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on the WITN First Alert Desk at 9 a.m. We're going to get right into the weather because we have a lot to talk about with Hurricane Erin. I know you just found out a new update on Erin not too long ago regarding its status, the strength of it.
Yeah, it's called an intermediate advisory.
Okay.
So we get the main advisories 5 a.m., 11 a.m., 5 p.m., 11 p.m., and then at the 3-hour intervals between those, 8 a.m., 2 p.m., and vice versa, we get the intermediate advisory. And usually those are position updates, but the Hurricane Center will make other adjustments if necessary. And one of the adjustments they made at 8 a.m., you don't get a new track, but they did drop the winds from 115 to 110. Okay. That takes it from a Cat 3 to now a high-end Cat 2 storm. And that's good to see. Dropped to 115 back at 5 a.m., another drop at 8 a.m. With a little bit of dry air wrapping into the storm. Maybe we can knock this back a little more over the next 24 hours, maybe. I don't think it's going to weaken. It's unlikely to make it to a Cat 1, not out of the question, though, if that continues. So a little nugget of good news.
Yeah, absolutely.
But still, beach impacts, you betcha. Big surf and everything that comes with that. So we're going to dig back into that as we go into the next few days. And again, right now, it is a Category 2 hurricane, so we'll take a look at the latest satellite image on Erin. Let's take a ride off the coast. So when you look at the satellite image, again, it's not looking as symmetrical, as much like a wheel. It still has a wheel-like shape, but the red areas losing that deeper convection on the west side of the storm. All right, you can see the circulation center. You go west of that, and those clouds, not as deep, not as thick, not as intense. Drier air getting infused into the system. And it'll kind of fluctuate back and forth a little bit, may try to rebound over the next 12 to 24 hours. I think kind of maintaining maybe where it is now. All right, there's that track again as we get into Wednesday night. I'm thinking midnight Wednesday night through noon Thursday, closest pass. Winds probably, and you'll see when they make that new track update, those wind values will likely come down a bit from that 115. Maybe a 105 potentially, or 100 on the winds offshore when it passes by. Still likely to see some gusts over 50 on the Outer Banks. Therefore, tropical storm watch is up for all the coastline from Onslow County northbound through Duck, and then including the Pamlico Sound, especially southern Pamlico Sound, where water level rises may push 3 feet, even a little higher in a few spots. And again, winds gusting into the 40s. You got that water rise and associated winds as well. And you can see those winds. Today we're good. Tomorrow, lunchtime tomorrow, see that time clock, always reference that when the map stops moving. Without that timestamp, this graphic doesn't have a lot of use. So there's noon tomorrow, maybe 15 inland, 25 on the coast. 6 p.m. tomorrow, mid-20s to low 30s on the coast. Deeper into the overnight, here come the stronger winds. Still mid-20s inland while we're sleeping Wednesday night, hitting 40 on the coast, and then we hit our peak probably Thursday morning, midday, popping some 50s occasionally right on the Outer Banks. Inland, low 30s. I don't think we'll see tropical storm force winds inland, but the wind will be whipping along pretty good, 30, maybe at 35 in a few spots. North wind to northwest, late Thursday. And once that happens, that Pamlico Sound water is going to push a little bit more back towards Ocracoke late day Thursday night. And that may bring higher water level rises there. By the time we get into late Thursday night, Friday, look at those winds tapering down. Pre-sunrise Friday, we're under 20 most everywhere, and those are max winds. So storm surge levels, the wind pushes the water, that water runs into land, and it rises. All right, so along the Crystal Coast, the water rises generally 2 to 3, maybe a 4-foot rise, generally around high tide, those peak levels, sunrise and sunset-ish. The next couple of days, a little before that today, closer to sunset later in the week. So maybe, let's say 7 p.m.-ish by the time we get to Thursday. All right, further north, that level, that rise level, surge level, potentially a 1 to 3. So 2-foot rise, I'm thinking up the Neuse River, coastal Pamlico County, maybe a 2-foot rise. Pamlico River, as you get back further to the west, up through Washington, up towards Belhaven, a 1 to 2. That north to northeast wind, not driving water, back into the Pamlico as much. Albemarle Sound, orange shading, 1 to 3, maybe isolated 3, and then out on the Outer Banks, 2 to 4 should cover you guys. And again, I don't see you getting much higher than that, especially with the winds coming down a little bit on Erin. But that's a lot of surf coming in. So overwash on Highway 12 at times, especially high tide again. And I'm not sure they'll touch that sand on the roads until this thing leaves. So again, that means 2 to maybe 3 days of kind of stuck in your homes out there with blockages on Highway 12 for a couple of days minimum, I think. Likely, not definitely, but likely. Coastal impacts primarily come late Wednesday night into Thursday. Inland gusts to 30, coastal gusts 50 to 60, 10 to 15 foot waves. You don't have to get far offshore. I'm starting to see 20 plus once you get 10 to 15 miles off the beaches. No boating. The high rip risk and the Highway 12 overwash we hit on. Beach erosion. A lot of beach erosion. Probably 3 days, I would say, of winds 30 or better at times, hitting 50 occasionally. It's a lot of surf driving into the beaches and carrying the sand away. And with that in mind, some of those structures on the break line, that surf line, they may struggle to stay intact. Seems like every storm we get like this, we're shooting video of some house or two getting washed out to sea. It's not definitely going to happen, but I can certainly see it maybe happening. Development potential behind that, Fernand and Gabrielle. The chance for development with the first area at 60%. I can tell you this, the models looking down the road on that next system, they're all weak, which is good, much weaker than Erin, and I'm seeing a lot of turning offshore with that. I'm not saying that's the way that's going to go, but right now, I'm not nearly, my antenna's not up nearly as much as it was early on with Erin. Models were hinting at this scenario. They're not showing that right now with the next systems. That could change. We need a break behind Erin, I think. And then behind that, that chance comes down to about 30% with Fernand and Gabrielle, again, the next two names. All right, Blake Cash asking about Kinston. You're fine, Blake. You're in my neck of the woods over there. We'll see some gusts by Thursday morning, 30 maybe. Rain is unlikely for the most part. Stray shower, no big deal. Inland air is going to be fine here. Billy George, Emerald Isle, are going to take a bit more of a hit down there with a gust 40 or better.
We did get an update from Emerald Isle officials this morning. They're continuing to fly those red flags for dangerous rip current risk. Really just hammering home, don't go in that water, do not swim. They have actually taken down some of the lifeguard towers because they're expecting the storm surge to come and it could potentially knock them down. So better to be safe than sorry, taking those lifeguard towers down. They will have lifeguards on the beach ramps and also just patrolling outside on the roadways and any time that they're able to pass through with that storm surge. So lifeguards will still be there, just not on those towers. Those are taken down. Just general rule of thumb, just don't go in the water today. It sounds like it's very
exactly
very
right. Not only today, but tomorrow,
right.
Thursday, and probably Friday as well. I think by Saturday we may be in a good place, but for the shorter term, the big thing with this storm, I've seen a lot of these storms my time here. This strength, that track, if it's moving twice as fast, which a lot of time they are, we're not worried as much about those coastal impacts. It's the duration of those winds that's going to drive that water in for a while.
Right.
That's why things may get washed away, a lot of beach erosion, greater impacts, the longer duration of winds and surf coming into the beaches. We're not going to see a lot of power outages. Winds not getting much over 50. It's just that continuous push of wind and water on the beaches doing its job.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, this is pretty much going to be a beach storm. So people more inland, sounds like we're going to be okay. I know that there are some people in the comments asking for different places. Also seeing Kenansville, Washington. How are those looking in terms of? Yeah,
Kenansville's good. You know, the only kind of flooding you would see is if you get a lot of rain. I know yesterday some areas got hit hard. I'm not seeing that in Kenansville. Winds gusting 30. Ronell, I think pronunciation, Gigi. Gonna need an assist on that.
Yeah, Ronell.
Okay. Yeah, you should be fine. Inland areas. Anybody along and generally west of Highway 17. Some gusty winds, not a big deal. Okay. That track's pretty well locked in, and I like to see that little bit of a weakening trend. It's going to be a big storm. Right now, tropical storm force winds extend out 200 miles from the center, and this storm will be maybe 150 miles off the coast. So that encroachment of tropical storm winds, regardless of the weakening, that will likely happen over the Sound, Pamlico Sound, the beaches. And that again will be Wednesday night into Thursday. That's where the risks are. Like I said, on the beaches pretty much, more so Outer Banks, that's where you'll find the biggest risk, but to some degree Crystal Coast as well, you'll have your hands full at times.
All right, well thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
We do have to wrap things up today, but be sure to tune into our newscasts on air and online. We'll also have, I believe, Russell will also be here throughout the day to give you some updates. So be sure to check that out. Hope you all have a great rest of your day though.
Bye.